Guys, welcome back to Mids from the middle of the Midwest. I'm your host, Nixon the Dark. And continuing today on our segments on socioeconomic issues, loosely tied to the institution of college. For those of you who aren't aware, college used to be a major engine for economic, social, and sexual flourishing. For at least the last 30 years, it has become an enshittified cancer on society. Our mandate at MIDS is to talk about sex, violence, and religion. With that in mind, I pose the question, why on earth do women go to college? Get used to this response. The answer to all your questions is hypergamy. Alpha fucks, beta bucks. Why did she cheat? Alpha fucks. Why did she marry and then divorce the nice guy? Beta bucks. The full answer, obviously more complex, but hypergamy is always the starting point for any question about female behavior. Time for a quick history lesson. After the Industrial Revolution, college became the core of beta male sexual strategy. For all eternity, betas have never been able to compete with alphas in looks, physicality, or social dominance, which, by the way, is tied to both looks and physicality. But in the industrial and post-industrial era where abundance gradually became the norm, betas could get sex by offering something that their alpha stud peers often lacked: money and social status in a new abundant world, in a brave new abundant world. So betas are not by default smarter than alpha males, but unattractive men are heavily incentivized to become smarter because they need to cultivate alternative non-physical forms of value to attract women who have a default preference for physical and social alphas. So betas had much more to gain by going to college than alphas. Combine this with the reality that women historically lacked economic agency. Thus, the main way to acquire middle class status was through an economically competitive man. This gave rise to the beta husband. And this arrangement worked well for most of the 20th century, or at least about half of it. Then women started going to college. Why did women do this? Obviously, hypergamy. A few trailblazing, strong, independent female pioneers had something to prove. Most women did not, even the ones who had gobs and gobs of talent. At first, they went to college to find a man. They literally joked about it. You would call it an MRS degree. Gradually, they started competing with beta males for non-physical knowledge worker jobs. Even if they lagged in some, if not many respects, they still got bucks. Having bucks meant they didn't need the beta. Hypergamy. Women used to go to college to find men. Now they go to college to avoid men. That is, to avoid being economically dependent on an unattractive man. Remember Nixon's first law of hypergamy, illustrated in my previous video. The beta male always loses in the end. Beta males made a bet on themselves by way of college. That was the whole point, to be able to compete with alpha males by having a respectable career and the money and status which came with it. The bet stopped paying out. It's 2025. College is now a financial death sentence with no reward. Thanks to this demographic shift, plus institutional corruption and enshittification, the cost of college outweighs the benefits for all but the most academically gifted. The bet went from good to mediocre to questionable to terrible to suicidal. Men have stopped going to college. Male enrollment has been steadily declining compared to female enrollment for a long time now. The men who stopped did so because they recognized two things. First, what we just discussed: a respectable career won't get you sex if you're unattractive. Second, the cost of that career is now lifetime financial slavery. Hey, political pundit guy out there, all those uneducated males that voted for Trump, just maybe by thinking with their dicks, their wallets, and an ounce of common sense, they actually turned out to be much smarter than you. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and final thought. So how much longer is this female-dominated, enshittified college system going to last? I'm glad you asked. Now it's time for Nixon's third law of hypergamy. The second law discussed in my prior video. Third law of hypergamy: alpha pursuit always trumps beta avoidance. For all of us, desire, love, meaning, and purpose are what people get out of bed in the morning, or the reason people get out of bed in the morning. Women don't wake up every morning asking themselves what they need to do to avoid beta males. They don't know beta males exist. They wake up every morning wanting an alpha male and scheming on how to pursue and find an alpha male. That's what gives them meaning in their lives. With that in mind, what is the alpha fuck's purpose of going to college? There isn't one, at least not anymore. Women can find physical and social alphas anywhere, and they stopped looking for those beta male substitutes at colleges a couple decades ago. So how much longer are they going to let beta avoidance trump alpha desire? On the next segment, we'll try to predict the future of women in college. Take care.